Hidden identity exposed. Billionaire CEO's daughter discovers life-changing truth about employees. Caroline stood stunned as the news article flashed on her tablet. Every word echoed her heart's unvoiced desire, a life beyond luxury, a taste of truth. She had never truly known how to connect with the world outside the gilded cage of her father's mansion. With summer approaching, the emptiness of her structured existence felt heavier. She craved authenticity, not the shallow chat of elite galas. It was time to dive in, to leap into the real world. That leap began at a local diner, a neon sign flickering hope amidst the suburbs. Walking through the door of Sarah's diner, warmth wrapped around Caroline like a welcoming hug. She paused, caught off guard by the scent of fresh coffee mingling with homemade pies. It was nothing like the sterile, polished rooms of her father's empire. Here, the laughter was genuine, the conversations lively. She watched as veterans shared tales, pride lighting their eyes, and mothers balanced trays laden with meals, muscles strained but spirits high. In that moment, Caroline felt an irrepressible longing ignite within her. These people wore stories on their sleeves, stories of struggle, sacrifice, and strength that outshone anything her world could offer. As she wiped down tables and learned the daily rush, stories unfolded around her. Each person had their own battle: the teen dreaming of college despite financial woes, the older man fighting ghosts from his past, the hard-working mother keeping her family afloat. Caroline listened, wrapping her mind around their realities. Tears pricked her eyes as she realized the weight of hard work, the dignity in their struggles. Success wasn't just fortune, it was resilience, it was connection. But as the summer days rolled on, a dark shadow loomed over her newfound sanctuary. One afternoon, Sarah pulled her aside, voice laced with worry. "They're planning to demolish the diner, Caroline. Your father wants to build another corporate complex." The words sent icy fear racing through her. Her heart raced, a pounding reminder of the choices that separated her from these incredible people. She was torn. The loyalty to her father's legacy clashed violently with the love she felt for the community that had embraced her. Before she could respond, a stirring argument erupted between her coworkers. Their voices mingled, raw and emotional, charging the air. They were angry, desperate, and it struck Caroline hard. Guilt twisted in her chest as she realized her privilege protected her from the burden they carried daily. Here, in the diner, she'd found purpose. Standing amidst their fear, her heart surged with a newfound understanding of what truly mattered. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. In that charged atmosphere, Caroline felt a spark, a bolt of courage coursing through her. Summer reached its crescendo, and a sense of unity began to ripple through her coworkers as they rallied to save their diner. She could no longer sit idly by, torn between worlds. The realization hit hard: her voice, her influence could matter. Could she really challenge her father's decision without sacrificing her family? A shiver ran down her spine as she realized the stakes. If she stepped up, everything she had known would be on the line. As the sun dipped low, casting a golden hue over the diner that felt like home, Caroline stood at a crossroads. Would she risk everything to fight for the community that opened her heart? Or would she choose the safety of the familiar? A storm brewed within her, and in that moment of silence, she knew everything was about to change. The next day, Caroline arrived at Sarah's diner with a newfound determination. The morning sun streamed through the windows, illuminating the hard work etched into every corner of the bustling diner. It felt different now, each table populated by stories she was now part of. But as she looked around, the weight of the upcoming demolition loomed larger than ever, casting a shadow over the brightness of her new reality. As she walked toward the kitchen, Caroline heard a familiar chatter. It was Jess, one of the waitresses, rallying everyone to come together for a meeting. Caroline's heart surged. This was it. This could be the first step in uniting them all against the corporate machine threatening their community. The thought of speaking up sent a thrill through her, yet dread lingered. What if her father didn't care how they felt? What if he dismissed their pain like it was nothing? The sound of chairs scraping across the floor pulled her from her reverie. Jess was standing on a table, her voice steady but tinged with urgency. We can't let them take this place from us. This diner is more than just a restaurant, it's our home. The rest of the staff erupted in agreement, forming a chorus of resolve. Caroline's heart raced. She climbed up beside Jess, her stomach fluttering as she prepared to speak. I want to help, she stammered, feeling an unfamiliar mix of fear and excitement. What if we approach the city council? We can gather support. People will listen if we show them how much this diner truly matters. A mix of expressions crossed their faces: skepticism, hope, and determination. A young man named Marcus, who often served her coffee with a shy smile, nodded thoughtfully. But we need to be ready for pushback, Caroline. They're not going to just let us plead our case. We'll need a plan. Yes. A plan, Jess chimed in, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. Let us show them we want to be silenced. It's time for action. As discussions flowed, an idea began to take shape. Caroline suggested a community event, an open mic night where locals could share their stories. It could draw people in, create connections, and expose the true value of the diner. The spark in her coworkers' eyes was contagious. Laughter, hope, and shouts of agreement filled the room, soothing Caroline's growing fears. She felt a bond forming, a tight-knit family forged by a shared commitment to safeguard their haven. However, deep down, the collision between her obligations to the family empire and her new purpose sparked doubts. Could she truly go against her dad, the man whose empire was built on ambition and success? Was it really possible to stand up and cause a rift that could change everything, perhaps even fracture their relationship? That night, struggling to find sleep, her thoughts were turbulent. Caroline considered her father's pride. How would he react if she stood on the opposite side in front of their wealth? But her friends' faces lingered in her mind, filled with determination and hope. They believed in her, and she wanted to believe in them too. The upcoming event took on new significance. It wasn't just about saving the diner, it was about gathering strength from the community and finding her own voice. After hours of restless pondering, she came to a decision. She would fight for the diner, not just for Sarah and her co-workers, but for herself, too. She couldn't keep hiding behind the veil of privilege that separated her from these hard-working individuals. Fingers trembling, Caroline picked up her phone and texted Jess, "Let us make this happen. Together." As she stared at the dim glow of her screen, a wave of resolve washed over her. Tomorrow, she would step up. And in doing so, everything would begin to unravel. But little did she know, her father was already aware of the brewing storm, and he had plans of his own. The next day dawned bright and hopeful. Caroline entered the diner with a fresh energy, her mind buzzing with ideas for the open mic night. The air was thick with the scent of coffee and fresh pastries, a comforting reminder of why this place meant so much to her and to everyone else who walked through its doors. Jess was already at the counter, setting up a sign advertising the event. "Get ready to spread the word. This is going to be big," she exclaimed, her enthusiasm electric. Other staff members joined in, their voices echoing around the diner as they brainstormed how to bring more people in. "I think we should have a theme," Marcus suggested, leaning over the counter. "Something that reflects our community. Maybe Voices of the Heart? It'll invite people to share what this diner means to them." "Yes," Caroline said, her heart swelling with pride for her team. "And let everyone know there'll be food and drinks on the house. We want it to feel like a celebration." As they discussed details, Caroline's confidence surged. For the first time in her life, she felt connected to something bigger than herself. It was liberating, and she began to see the diner not just as a job but as a lifeline for so many. However, cracks began to show in her resolve when the chatter turned serious. "Have you guys thought about what Mr. Hargrove will do when he finds out?" Marcus asked, all humor stricken from his face. The room fell silent. This was the question everyone was avoiding. I mean, I get he's our boss, but he can't just bulldoze the place and throw us out, Jess replied, her tone a mix of defiance and concern. Caroline bit her lip, feeling the weight of the impending confrontation press down on her. He doesn't see it like we do, she finally admitted. To him, this is a business decision. It's not personal. But it is personal to us. Marcus almost shouted, his passion spilling over. If we don't stand up for ourselves, who will? Waves of anxiety crashed over her as she considered the ramifications. Could she really put everything on the line for a diner? What would happen to her relationship with her father? She could feel the stirrings of doubt rising within her again, but she pushed them down. We can't allow our future to be determined by his decisions alone. I need to talk to him, before it's too late. As if on cue, the bell above the door jingled. Caroline turned, her heart racing when she saw her father step inside, his expression a carefully crafted mask. Caroline, he said, his voice calm but firm, we need to talk. The room drained of sound, all eyes falling on them. Caroline felt their eyes on her, a mix of encouragement and fear. Taking a deep breath, she squared her shoulders, prepared not just for this moment, but for whatever lay ahead. Okay, she replied, her voice shaking but her resolve standing strong that he motioned for her to follow him outside, away from prying ears. The fresh air met her face, but the chill didn't compare to the tense atmosphere swirling between them. What's this I hear about an event at the diner? Are you seriously planning to mobilize your coworkers against me? He asked, his voice low and threatening. She didn't flinch, standing her ground. It's not against you, Dad. It's about what this diner means to the community. It's about their voices. His eyes narrowed, and for an instant, she saw a flicker of something desperation. Fear? Before he masked it with his usual steely gaze. You don't understand how these things work, he said, coolly dismissive. Business is business. And family, well, sometimes we have to make hard choices. Caroline felt her heart break a little at his words. But it shouldn't be like that. Not here. Not with people who have dedicated their lives to this place. His reply hung in the air, sharp and unforgiving. You need to choose, daughter. This can end badly for everyone involved. As she stared into her father's eyes, the tension electric, an unsettling realization washed over her. This wasn't just about saving the diner, this was about shaking off the expectations placed upon her and discovering who she really was meant to be. What would she choose? The comfort of her father's world or the messy, unpredictable path of supporting her community? The answer felt closer than ever, yet terrifying. And just as she opened her mouth to respond, a commotion erupted behind her. A group of familiar faces had gathered, drawn by whispers of what was happening. The moment felt suspended, and she knew that whatever would unfold next could change everything. Are you ready for that? A voice called out from the crowd. Caroline's heart raced. Would she rise to the occasion, or would she retreat into the shadows of her past? Only time will tell, she whispered to herself as she took a step forward, ready to embrace whatever came next. Caroline felt the weight of the crowd's eyes, each one brimming with hope or uncertainty. They had come to see what would happen next, drawn to the promise of something more than just the clatter of forks and coffee cups. They wanted their voices heard, and she was the one who could fight for them. Ready? Jess mouthed to her, the question hanging in the air. Caroline nodded, her mind racing. She could feel a knot forming in her stomach, but the warmth of the diner's spirit filled her chest with courage. Each face before her friends, co-workers, the regulars spoke volumes about loyalty and support. She took a step closer to the group, her heart pounding in her ears. Her father's glare pierced through the crowd. This isn't a game, Caroline. You're messing with people's livelihoods, he said, his voice threading through the hushed whispers. That's exactly why I'm doing this. Caroline shot back, surprising herself with her firmness. They've built this place. It's not just a business to them, it's home. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Caroline sensed their backing, a wave of solidarity rising behind her. It wasn't just her fight anymore. It felt like a movement, like an awakening. Maybe it's you who doesn't understand, she continued, gesturing wide to encompass the diner. The late nights, the laughter, even the tears. This diner is filled with life. People come here looking for connection, not just a meal. We can't let the heart and soul of this place be taken away. He narrowed his eyes, a wall of control surrounding him. And what happens when the money runs out? Or when my reputation is on the line? His voice was ice, but she caught the tremble he tried to hide. I'm not asking you to throw everything away. Just consider the impact this place has. You always taught me to fight for what matters. Isn't that worth something? She pleaded, her voice gaining strength even as uncertainty clawed at her heart. Then, from behind her, a familiar voice piped up. Your father's right, Caroline. We understand that money is important, but we also want to survive in the long run. If we can't pay the bills, this diner is gone. The crowd began to murmur again, panic creeping into the room. Caroline turned to see Maggie, one of the dishwashers, looking lost and afraid. It was her worry that echoed in the diner. Could they keep it alive if they rallied behind Caroline's dream? Caroline felt a twinge in her chest. It starts with us believing in something bigger. We have to push back. Together, we can show him that this diner isn't just is to throw away, it belongs to all of us. A spark ignited in the crowd, their resolve returning. Together they echoed, a soft roar beginning to swell. She turned back to her father, asking with just her eyes if he saw the support they had. Caroline, don't let your passion blind you, he said, his tone shifting slightly, almost desperate. Maybe it's time for a new way of seeing things, Dad, she replied, holding his gaze steady. What if you listened for once? What if you realized that this could actually work for both of us? The room held its breath, waiting for her father's response. Just then, Marcus stepped forward. You don't understand what this diner means to us. It's more than a paycheck, it's family. It's love. We can still run this well and make it thrive. Her father's shoulders tightened, the tension growing thicker. As he stood there, the weight of choice pressing on him, the silence around them felt palpable. Caroline could see hope dancing in the eyes of her friends around her, and deep inside, she dared to believe she could shift their future, but when he opened his mouth, ready to reply, the bell over the door dinged again. The moment shattered just enough for Caroline to feel the sudden, underlying dread. Who could come through that door now? Someone who would tip the scales. Someone who could reveal truths better left unspoken. As the door swung wide, all eyes turned in unison. The figure that stepped into the diner sent icy fingers down her spine, a mix of dread and anticipation coursing through her veins. What are you doing here? She thought before realizing she had just whispered the question aloud. The figure smiled, but it was a smile that sent chills across the room. Caroline, the newcomer said, a familiar voice echoing in her mind, you might want to hear what I have to say. It's about your father and your mother and, most importantly, about this diner. Her heart raced. Was it time to uncover mysteries that had long lain dormant? Would the truth set them free or bind them in new chains? Why now? She asked, her voice barely a whisper, knowing that the answer could change everything. The room felt electric, the air heavy with anticipation. Caroline's heart thudded louder than ever as she locked eyes with the newcomer. The familiarity of the voice stirred emotions she had tried to keep buried, memories rising up like ghosts in the corners of her mind. It was Lily, a childhood friend, and the last time they had met felt like a lifetime ago. What do you mean, about my father and my mother? Caroline pressed, her voice shaking slightly. The diner, once filled with warmth and camaraderie, now seemed to blur around her, as if time itself had condensed into this single, defining moment. Lily took a deep breath, glancing at the faces of the crowd. It was clear she was trying to gauge how much of the truth would spill out here, in this room thick with tension. I didn't think I'd ever come back here, she admitted, her eyes drifting to the walls lined with photographs that told stories of laughter and togetherness. But there's something you need to know. Your mother, she had written to me before what? Caroline urged, frustration mingling with confusion. Before she passed. She wanted to keep you safe, far from the troubles that followed her. Lily responded softly, but her voice carried weight. There's a funding source tied to your family and this diner. Your father isn't just your father, he's part of a bigger picture that you don't know. The crowd rustled with whispers, their eyes flitting between Caroline and Lily. This revelation, like a sudden thunderstorm washing out the sun, drew a gasp from Maggie. What does that even mean? She looked as bewildered as Caroline felt. Lily stepped forward, determination etched across her face. Your father has connections, dealings that jeopardize more than just the diner. I can help you find out more, but it won't be easy. This kind of truth can ruin lives or save them. Caroline felt that knot in her stomach twist again. The idea that her father had layers she had never questioned sent her head spinning. Why had he never opened up about the past? Was this why he didn't want her to stand up for the diner? What are you saying? Caroline's mind was racing. What could he possibly be involved in? Let's just say, your mother's legacy is more than just memories, Lily replied, her voice steadying. It's about the choices that have been made and the consequences of those choices still echoing today. Caroline could hear her heart in her ears. You can't just drop that bombshell and expect me to stay calm. This diner, it's everything to us, and if my dad is hiding something then you need to confront him, Lily pressed, her green eyes sparkling with an urgency that Caroline found alarming yet compelling. You have a choice to make, Caroline. Stand firm or let him dictate everything, including your future. Do you really think he knows what's best for you? Caroline looked around the room. The faces of her friends, their expressions a mix of hope and fear, bolstered her courage. I won't be silenced. Not anymore. Lily nodded, but as Caroline prepared to face her father again, doubt crept into the forefront of her mind. Could the truth she was about to chase really be what she needed? Or would it shatter everything she thought she knew? Then let me help you, Lily offered, her voice low but firm, even as the crowd gasped. Together, we can dig deeper. But be warned, it might lead to conflicts beyond this diner. You're about to step into a world that could change everything. The weight of that statement hung over Caroline as she turned back toward her father, who still stood silently, regarding the unfolding drama. The bell above the door jingled again. Someone else was arriving, another player in the game she hadn't even begun to fully understand. Her heart raced. Was she ready for this? Who else is coming? She murmured, a mixture of fear and excitement coursing through her veins. What other secrets awaited them? Would the revelations bring light or darkness? As anxiety intertwined with hope, Caroline felt the future rushing toward her like an oncoming train. And all she could do was hold on tight and pray she was strong enough to face it. The door swung open, and all heads turned. Caroline's gaze zeroed in on the figure stepping inside, a tall man in a tailored suit that looked far too out of place in the small-town diner. His presence sent a ripple through the crowd, a mix of curiosity and apprehension settling over the room like a thick fog. Who the hell is that? Caroline whispered, her heart pounding like a drum against her ribcage. Lily was already stepping closer, the tension buzzing between them. Don't know, Lily replied, eyes narrowed. But I guarantee he's not here for a slice of pie. The man scanned the room, his gaze landing on Caroline. Something about his expression was familiar, but she couldn't quite place it. He was too polished, too confident in a way that made her stomach churn. This wasn't just another face. This was someone who wielded power, a kind that could unravel everything she thought she knew. Is that him? Caroline asked incredulously, pointing discreetly. Is he connected to my father? Lily nodded, her brow furrowing. He looks like he's carrying secrets. We need to find out what he's here for. As the man approached, Caroline felt like all eyes were suddenly on her. She wanted to shrink away and escape, but instead, she stood her ground. Her father had never taught her to run from confrontation. No, she was about to face whatever was thrown at her, even if it felt like the world was crumbling around her. Caroline Harper? The man's voice was smooth but firm, cutting through the murmur of disbelief in the diner. I need a moment of your time. The room seemed to hold its breath. Caroline looked at Lily, who returned her gaze with an intensity that made her resolve stiffen. "What do you want?" she shot back, fighting to keep her voice steady. "Not here," he replied, glancing casually towards the door. "There are things you need to know, about your father, about the business, about your mother. I'm here to help you uncover the truth." The flicker of curiosity flashed in her gut, but it was quickly overshadowed by skepticism. "Why should I trust you?" "Because I know everything," he said, his voice dipping into a conspiratorial whisper. "Your father is in deeper than you realize. I can get you access to the truth if you're willing to take that step." With every word, Caroline's heart raced faster. So much was at stake, and yet, she felt a surge of adrenaline. This man was promising answers, potentially the type of answers that could either deepen her sorrow or set her free. "What do you know?" she pressed, voice firm despite the uncertainty swirling inside her. He smiled, a confident, almost predator-like grin. "Let's just say, your mother had plans for you that you're only beginning to understand. Plans that could change everything." As he spoke, Caroline's mind swirled a storm of emotions clashing. Her mother's dreams, her father's secrets, and the life she had thought was secure now felt fragile, like shattered glass ready to cut her at any moment. "Maggie, get the keys to my car," she ordered, her voice laced with newfound clarity. Maggie stood frozen for a second before rushing to comply, rallying behind her friend. The diner was suddenly a sanctuary filled with shadows of the past. "Are you really ready for this?" Lily asked, catching Caroline's gaze as she prepared to step out. "Once you open that door you can't close it again." Caroline hesitated, the weight of the moment heavy on her shoulders. Did she really want to unravel the fabric of her life? But as she glanced at the man again, determination flared within her like a beacon. She couldn't be afraid anymore. "Yes," Caroline said firmly, sealing her fate. "I need to know." With that, she plunged forward into an uncertain future, her heart pounding like a warning bell. The man led the way, and as she stepped into the unknown, the diner and its familiar faces receded behind her, becoming part of a life she was ready to challenge. What would she uncover? Each step drew her closer to the truth, but would the answer heal her or break her apart? The air thickened with suspense as she grappled with her choices. There was no turning back now. The air outside the diner was cool, a stark contrast to the warmth of the crowded room they'd just left. Caroline stepped out, her senses heightened, every sound magnified: the rustle of leaves, distant car horns, even the urgent slap of her heels against the pavement. The man in the suit led the way with a pace that seemed designed to keep her following close behind, determined but almost imposing. "What's your name?" Caroline finally asked, breaking the silence that hung between them. He glanced back, assessing her. "You can call me Ethan. For now, anyway." "Ethan," she echoed, testing the name on her tongue. It felt foreign and yet intimate, as if there was more to him than she could see. "So, what's the deal? What do you know about my parents?" He turned slightly, eyes focused ahead. "Your father is running a business that's involved in ways you cannot begin to imagine. Your mother tried to protect you from it, but there are things she couldn't control, ones that are now affecting you." The words landed like stones in her gut. Caroline had always respected her parents' privacy, but now it felt like a veil was being removed from her eyes, and she was both thrilled and terrified by the prospect of clarity. She tugged her jacket tighter around her, trying to shield herself from the chill seeping into her bones. "Is it illegal?" she asked, unable to hold back the tremor in her voice. "Let's just say it walks a fine line. Your family's legacy is rooted in more than just business acumen. There are shadows, and this time those shadows are closing in." They arrived at his car, black, sleek, and far too expensive for this small town. She looked over the vehicle with suspicion before slipping into the passenger seat, a knot forming deeper in her stomach. It seemed unreal, this moment where she was about to embark on a journey that could change everything she thought she knew. Ethan started the engine, and the purr of the car filled the silence. "I have contacts, people who know your father's dealings much more intimately than you do. They'll be able to give you answers. But you need to be ready. This isn't a fairy tale, it's a harsh reality. Caroline's heart raced at the idea of finally uncovering the truth. Would it be liberating or devastating? She'd spent her whole life holding on to fabricated stories of warmth and safety, and the thought of unraveling it all sent shivers down her spine. And why are you helping me? What's in it for you? I'm not an enemy, I want to see this end, and you need to know who you are, he replied, eyes firmly fixed on the road ahead. Besides, I have my own ties to your family's fate. Her mind spun with questions. Why did he feel familiar? What ties did he have to her family? The rhythm of her pulse quickened as pieces began to scatter around inside her head. Where are we going? She asked as they pulled away from the diner, its colorful neon sign fading in the rearview mirror. To see someone who can give you context, a former employee of your father's. A man who knows more than he ever shared. He was taken out of the picture for a reason. Taken out? Caroline repeated, the weight of his words hitting her like a freight train. Suddenly, this wasn't just about her parents, it was about her and the dangerous games they were all part of. Things are complicated, Caroline, but I can assure you that you're already entangled in this world. The question is, how deep do you want to go? A mix of fear and fierce determination settled in her chest. The further they drove into the unknown, the more she felt herself being pulled into a tangled web. I want to know everything, she declared, resolve hardening in her core. Then hold on tight. You might just discover that the truth can hurt more than the lie. As they sped down the road, a sense of dread mixed with a rush of excitement filled the air. The destination loomed on the horizon, but Caroline realized that what awaited her could either fracture her world or forge her anew. What awaited her was a reckoning, a confrontation with a truth she wasn't sure she was ready to face. Where was this road taking them, and what revelations would emerge from the shadows? As doubt gnawed at her, a question echoed through her mind. Could she handle the weight of her family's legacy, whatever it might hold? The city skyline grew closer as they drove, each towering building standing like a sentinel over the bustling streets below. Caroline watched the familiar landmarks whiz by, places she had always taken for granted. Coffee shops, bookstores, and parks she'd visited with friends felt like fragments of a life that now seemed distant. A voice in her head whispered that nothing would ever feel the same again. Ethan seemed to sense her turmoil. Don't worry, he said, his voice steady. You're stronger than you think. Stronger? She wished she could believe that. With each mile, nerves twisted in her stomach, reminding her of the gravity of what was about to unfold. And what if I'm not? She almost let the vulnerability slip out like a whisper in the wind. What if it's too much? Then you take a breath, and you step forward anyway, he replied, glancing at her briefly. Their eyes locked for a moment, and his gaze held a depth that sent shivers through her. There was something about him, something that made her feel both safe and terrified all at once. They pulled up in front of a nondescript office building, its gray facade blending into the surroundings. Ethan parked and turned to face her. This is it, he said, the finality in his tone sending a shudder down her spine. Just remember, whatever you hear today, it won't change who you are deep down. Don't let their stories define you. She nodded, though her heart was pounding. Caroline felt unsteady as she stepped out of the car. The cool air hit her like a splash of cold water, snapping her to attention. Ethan led her inside, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead as they entered a dimly lit lobby. The musty scent of old carpet filled her nostrils, and she noticed the peeling paint on the walls. It was inconspicuous, but its very anonymity felt suffocating, like a spiderweb that could easily entrap her if she wasn't careful. As they approached a door marked with a simple brass plate, Ethan paused, his jaw tightening. Are you sure you want to do this? Caroline took a deep breath, feeling the resolve seep back in. I need to know, she said, surprising herself with the firmness in her voice. She might have been scared, but she was also ready to confront whatever came next. As he opened the door, and they stepped into the cramped office. Behind the desk sat an older man, his silver hair contrasting starkly with the dark suit he wore. Lines creased his forehead, and the moment he looked up, Caroline felt his piercing gaze scan her as if he was searching for something beneath her surface. Caroline, he said, his voice gravelly, the name coded with a mix of recognition and disbelief. "I didn't think your family would ever let you in on this." The comment hung between them like an unspoken acknowledgement of an uncomfortable truth. "You know my family?" she asked, an edge of hope clawing at her gut. "A long time ago, I worked for your father," the man admitted slowly. He didn't exactly bring his work home with him, though you could say it was a different era altogether. Ethan leaned against the wall, arms crossed, silently urging Caroline to search for the right questions. "What did you do for him?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. The man hesitated, glancing at Ethan, then back at her. "Let's just say that the business your father is running, it isn't just about profit margins. It involves people, secrets, and sometimes, a deal with the devil." Caroline's heart raced. She needed to know more. What kind of secrets? The weight of those words fell as heavily as lead, and she braced herself for the truth that surely awaited her. "Secrets that eat you alive if you're not careful, and tonight, we need to talk about what comes next." As he spoke, Caroline felt an overwhelming wave of uncertainty crash over her. What was she really prepared to uncover? Would learning the truth empower her or lead her to a darkness she wasn't ready to face? But before she could voice her concerns, the room fell silent. The door creaked open, and a figure stepped inside, a person Caroline recognized all too well, someone who would force her to confront everything she thought she knew. "Mom?" she gasped, the very foundation of her world shaking beneath her. "Caroline," her mother said, stepping further into the room, her eyes wide with surprise and something deeper, fear, perhaps. There was a moment of disbelief, as if the universe had turned sideways, twisting time until now and then collided. Caroline felt her heart thump against her ribs. So many questions swirled in her mind like a storm. "What are you doing here?" The words escaped her before she could choke them down. I had no idea you were coming today," her mother stammered, blinking rapidly as if trying to recalibrate what she was seeing. The older man stirred, leaning forward. "Perhaps it's time for all of us to have a conversation," he suggested, his tone eerily calm in the tumult of emotions surrounding them. "Mom, you need to explain," Caroline demanded, her voice stronger now, mixing defiance with urgency. "What is going on? What secrets are we talking about?" She felt the tension thicken like fog rolling in. Her mother's gaze shifted between her and the man behind the desk. "It's not just about secrets, Caroline. It's about protecting you." "Protecting me?" Caroline echoed, incredulity bubbling to the surface. "From what? From the truth?" The silence in the room was heavy, a weighted blanket that suffocated instead of comforted. The older man cleared his throat. "Your father's business had a way of drawing in people with questionable motives," he began. "And those motives didn't care about the lives they ruined along the way." "I don't understand." Caroline felt lost in a maze, where each word was a wall, blocking her from the answers she desperately needed. "What did he do?" Her mother inhaled sharply, tears brimming in her eyes. "Your father was involved in decisions that affected many lives. He thought he was doing the right thing, protecting the family business," she explained, her voice quaking. "He made choices that came with a cost. And I thought if I kept you away from it all, you wouldn't have to bear the burden." The room was spinning. Reality cracked like glass before her. She could almost see the fragments of truth breaking apart, reflecting new, painful possibilities. "So you lied to me? You let me believe we were just a normal family?" Caroline, her mother reached out, but Caroline stepped back, the distance between them now feeling like an unbridgeable chasm. "Don't," she snapped, angry tears threatening to spill. "Don't you dare say this is for my protection. I'm old enough to know what I want. What I want is the truth." The older man nodded, his expression grave. "Then it's time we start revealing the layers," he said, gesturing for her to sit. "Tonight might be the first step toward understanding your father's past, and maybe even reconciling with it." "What do you mean?" Caroline's heart raced, uncertainty warring with a deep-seated need for understanding. "What exactly are you going to tell me?" "Everything," he said simply, his eyes locking with hers, mirroring the very essence of what she sought. The words hung in the air, thick with promise and dread. A voice deep down whispered that by uncovering the truth, she might also unearth the answers she had long wished for but was now terrified to confront. With one last glance at her mother, Caroline steeled herself, ready to dive into the darkness that enveloped her family. Perhaps the truth would enlighten her, or maybe it would shatter her even more. But she had to know. As she took a seat, bracing herself for the flood of revelations, another thought broke through the tension. What if her family's secrets stretched far beyond what she was prepared to face? Could she handle the truth when it revealed the biggest betrayal of all? The man's voice dropped lower as he began, "Let me tell you about the first deal your father made." The room felt like it was shrinking around Caroline, as the enormity of her father's hidden life hung thick in the air. She took a deep breath, steadying herself. "What deal?" she asked, almost a whisper. The man, still adjusting to the tension, leaned back in his chair, his eyes assessing her, glinting with a flicker of understanding. "Years ago, your father made a choice, a business deal with people who don't play by normal rules." He paused, gauging her reaction. It was big, and it made him a lot of money. But it came at a price. Lives were lost. Families were torn apart. The truth landed on Caroline like a lead weight, and she could feel the ground shifting beneath her feet once more. "No," she said sharply, her denial blossoming around her like a shield. "He wouldn't do that." But even as she spoke, doubt seeped into her heart, like cold water trickling into a sinking ship. Her mother's face twisted with pain. "Caroline, your father believed he was doing it for us. For our future." "For our future?" Caroline echoed, bitterness clinging to her words. "By sacrificing others?" She shook her head vigorously, cheeks burning with both anger and confusion. The man continued, his voice steady and somber. "He thought he could control it, but the people he dealt with soon became a threat. And he tried to hide it all, every messy detail." A shiver ran through her, a mixture of dread and disbelief. The life she'd known began to feel like a facade, a beautiful yet fragile illusion. "Why didn't you tell me any of this?" she demanded, turning to her mother, searching her eyes for answers. "I thought I was protecting you, that if I kept you away from all of this, you would have a chance at a normal life," her mother replied, her voice wavering. "But I see now that it may have done more harm than good." The warmth of her mother's love wasn't enough to shield Caroline from the cruel reality before her. "You didn't trust me to handle the truth?" The question hung heavy in the air, piercing through the layers of pain. "Maybe I didn't trust myself," her mother admitted, tears glistening. "I thought I was making the right choice by shielding you from his mistakes." Caroline felt anger shift within her and then dissolve into a deeper understanding. "But you're right," she said, her voice steadying. "It's time for the truth. I can't fight for the diner, for our community, not knowing who I'm up against." She straightened, holding her mother's gaze. "From here on out, we fight together," she declared, surprising herself with the strength that surged through her. "We confront him. I need answers, and we need to protect what's ours." "This isn't just about the diner anymore," Ethan chimed in, his tone serious. "This is about your father facing the consequences of his choices." Caroline nodded, determination flooding her heart. As the seconds ticked, she felt clarity wash over her. She wasn't just Caroline Harper, the billionaire's daughter anymore. She was a voice for those in the diner, for the people realigned in her life, whose struggles made her realize the economic and emotional fragility of existence. Caroline turned back to her mother. "You'll stand by me when I confront him, won't you?" Her mother looked weary but resolute as she nodded. "Yes, I will." Ethan grinned. "Good. We'll need everyone's support. It's time to gather allies." The three exchanged glances filled with purpose, as conviction solidified among them. There was a storm brewing, and they would have to face it together. They rose from their seats, preparing to step into a new world of confrontation and revelation. A world where the truth wouldn't just set them free but might also expose buried secrets long hidden. Caroline glanced at her mother, then at Ethan, feeling the weight and solidarity of their shared mission. Together, they left the suffocating confines of the office, stepping back into the world that held so much uncertainty. But now, she felt empowered. With each determined footstep, her heart sang a new melody of hope. As they strode toward the door, cups still warm in their hands, Caroline thought of Sarah's diner. She thought of the voices shimmering in her mind, the hopes, the fears, and the dreams. And for the first time, she felt the courage blossom deep within her. She would not shy away from this battle. She would face her father, the man entwined in shadows, and confront him with the spirit of every struggling individual who walked into that diner. The bell jingled above the door, marking a threshold between who she was and who she would become, and she couldn't stop smiling. The truth was almost in her grasp, and nothing would hold her back now. As they stepped into the radiant light of the world outside, Caroline felt a surge of resolve. This was her moment to reclaim her life, her legacy, and the community she had come to love. So, let's change the course of history together, before it's too late. You need to subscribe now to join this journey as we discover even more exclusive stories that inspire change. Leave a like now if this transformation spoke to your heart. Every click fuels our community. Comment below your thoughts, feelings, and reactions about this explosive ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible story unfold. Your support means the world.